Charge to the Compassionate Coalition, a poem by J.A. Faulkerson. Dr. King has been admonishing us to come together as one since the 1950s. Come together as brothers or die together as fools, he once said. But here we are, 74 years after he made this first rousing speech, trying to determine if we will allow complacency to replace compassion. For me, the answer is obvious. I choose to be compassionate, not complacent. But so many others have chosen the latter, thinking complacency will heal the racial divide, prevent the nation's marginalized groups from finally experiencing the rights of full U.S. citizenship. I blame established religions for this frantic march toward complacency. They have hitched their carts to an ideology that appeals more to their selfishness, less to their selflessness. The Christian church is the worst. They have captive audiences every Sunday morning and once during the week on Wednesdays, and they still choose not to denounce a presidential candidate who once joked about people looking the other way after he touched women's vaginas without their consent. What's worse, some denominations within the Christian church believe he was sent by God to do God's bidding. But truth be told, the things he has said, the actions he has taken have nothing to do with what God wants and are more about everything selfishly unrighteous that the presidential candidate wants. But this problem is bigger than one man. It has a lot to do with how we interact with each other. We don't, at least not well. We're more attached to our smartphones and tablets than ever before, and while we acquire a tremendous amount of information from them, we pick and choose those coals of information that coincide more perfectly with our individual worldviews. We must ask ourselves, why are we choosing the blackened coals over the golden nuggets? Have our minds become so depraved that we can no longer sense the urgency of now? In 2008, U.S. voters elected the first black male president. In 2016, U.S. voters elected the first black female vice president. Both candidates represented the Democratic Party, which has a long history of not being too kind to persons of color. Let's reflect on these moments, how we felt seeing two descendants of an enslaved, oppressed, and marginalized group rising to become leaders of the free world as Democrats. At this nation's core is a desire to become a more perfect union. In the words of Black motorist Rodney King, we should all just do our part to get along with others. But for that to happen, for us to get along, we must drown out, not silence, the voices spewing messages of hatred and division rather than love and unity. We must hold the ordained purveyors of love and truth to account, letting them know an unenlightened segment of their leadership and congregations are sleeping at the wheel, allowing the purveyors of hatred and lies to ferment a more imperfect union. We should be wary of leaders who condone the banning of books that enhance the critical thinking skills of children and adults. We should be wary of leaders who prevent refugees from legitimately pursuing asylum past to U.S. citizenship. Lastly, we should be wary of leaders who enact laws to regulate women's bodies, denying women opportunities to decide what they want to do with their bodies in consultation with trained medical professionals. Embrace your wokeness, Compassionate Coalition. It's not a bad thing. And being woke or enlightened is nothing new. It has always been there, this feeling of being fully aware of what is morally right and good for everyone, not just a select few. In November 2024, vote for candidates who privately and publicly stand on the side of moral enlightenment, unconditional love, equal justice, and inconvenient truth. Do this, and our transformation into a more perfect union will resume, as our words and deeds will show that more of us are guided by the love and compassion in our hearts. Charge to the compassion.